Bismillaah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah amma ba'd. We're here today to talk about, real quickly, to talk about how to perform wudu in the manner of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And one of the things we'll do is, we'll look at this through proper sources. We'll look at evidence as well, but I'm not going to focus on here's the evidence of this hadith, blah blah blah. It's all there in the footnotes, and I will inshallah be making a video, and I will also put that video up online. So, and if you need and want to see the actual slides, I'll put that up as a PDF as well, inshallah. The source for our discussion today is this book, Sifat Wudu Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam by Fahad Abdurrahman Shoaib, translated into English by Dawood Burbank. This is what we're going to talk about today. 5 things. The requirement, we'll establish the requirement of wudu, the excellence of doing wudu, the manner in which to do wudu. Most of our work is going to be on that, the manner in which to do wudu. Some other aspects, things that are not related to actually performing the wudu, but questions that people have all the time. And finally, what breaks the wudu. So let's talk about the requirement first. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that says that the first matter that the slave will be asked for on the Day of Judgment is the salah. If the salah is sound, then everything else will be sound. The rest of his deeds or her deeds will be sound. And if the salah is bad, then the rest of the deeds will be bad. So we've established that. That's the first thing that we're going to be asked about on the Day of Judgment is our salah, our prayers. And the other hadith that goes in conjunction with this is that Allah will not accept a prayer without purification, without wudu. So what that boils down to, when the Prophet ﷺ has said that he has been ordered to make wudu when he stands for prayer, and we, men and women, have been ordered to pray like he did, then we come to the following conclusion. If we don't have a correct wudu, we cannot have a correct salah. We may be just wasting our time. If our wudu is incorrect, and therefore our salah is incorrect, then it may not count. And I can't say it won't count. It is all up to the judgment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we face that risk. Conversely, if we want a beautiful salah, we should perform a beautiful wudu, because that will get us started. It'll take if the first step is good, then inshallah the rest of the steps will be good as well. And we may be able to use that and get that momentum to have peace and tranquility in our salah. So we've established the requirement. Let's talk about the excellence of doing wudu. Like many things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us we have to do, after he tells us that we have to do them, out of his mercy he gives us a reward for doing the things that he's told us we have to do. So the reward for wudu is that it washes off the sins. When a Muslim makes wudu, the sins he or she has committed come away from his hearing and from his sight and from his hands and from his feet. The sins get washed away. And when he sits down having been forgiven. So there is a very clear demarcation in our daily lives between pre-wudu and post-wudu state. We always have to be aware of that our post-wudu state is much cleaner, not just physically, but our souls are cleaner for having performed wudu. The other hadith, whoever makes wudu and makes it well, the sins come out of their body. It's like they're being washed, like the dirt being washed out from underneath their nails. Whoever makes wudu like this, then all of the previous sins are forgiven, and his or her prayer and their walking to the masjid are above and beyond that. So there's wudu, and that is the reward for wudu, and this is the reward for walking to the masjid, and for the reward for prayers are even beyond that. So there is a great amount of virtue and reward for doing wudu. Here's another one, prays 2 rakahs, Allah forgives them all previous sins. There are many more. I don't have time to go over all the ones that are just listed in that book. Wudu washes away our sins. Now let's get to the meat of the topic, the manner in which to perform wudu. If anyone has any questions or anything while we're talking, please go ahead, because it will benefit all of us, and it will probably benefit the people who are watching this video as well, inshallah. First, a reminder, a little bit of logic. If I provide evidence for something, for some aspect of wudu, and the evidence shows that that is sunnah, that means that this is a correct way of performing wudu. A implies B. If I do not provide evidence for something else, that does not mean that that thing is not valid. And this is a very key thing we need to remember, because there may be in wudu, in salah, in many different things, there are, I won't say contradictory because they're not contradictory. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did the same thing sometimes in different ways. Sometimes he would pray witr or in Ramadan Taraweeh 2 rakahs at a time. Sometimes it was 4. If you see an evidence for 2, that doesn't mean that because we haven't seen an evidence for 4 that 4 is incorrect. It just means that we haven't seen the evidence, and now we know that there is evidence for 4. So all that I can do is present what I have evidence for. So as you're seeing this, if you think, but someone else told me that this was a proper way of doing it, that is not necessarily incorrect. It's just that this book and me personally, I haven't seen the evidence because I am not a scholar. So we'll keep that in mind, inshallah. The first requirement of wudu, the absolute most important one, well, one of the most important ones is the intention. No act is accepted without intention. The intention must be silent, it must not be spoken. And there's a whole, hadith about that, and there are references over there. So the first thing is to have the intention. You can't just say, well, I took a shower and I technically washed every part of my body, even though I didn't realize I needed to do wudu, so it's okay. No, that doesn't count, because if you didn't have the intention of making wudu, then it doesn't count. You have to have the intention in your heart. Second requirement, you have to say Bismillah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. At-Tasmiyah. There is no wudu for him who does not mention Allah's name upon it. This is a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's a sahih hadith. Now, deliberately leaving out the saying of Bismillah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, is skipping an obligatory part of the wudu. However, the scholars have said if one forgets, then their wudu is correct. But when they remember, they should mention Allah's name. So we've seen 2 things so far: intention and saying of Bismillah. Next step, washing the hands 3 times. Now how is that done? It's just the hands over here up to the wrist. So this is right as we start. We're not talking about the arms and the forearms yet. We start Bismillah, wash the hands. Intention, Bismillah, wash the hands. Then comes the next step, the mouth and the nose. 3 times as well. And let's talk about this a little bit. The manner in which it was done, as described in Sahih Muslim, is both the mouth and the nose were washed at the same time. 1 handful of water each time. So the way it's done is you take the water in your right hand, and you've cupped the water in your right hand, you take a little bit in, not all of it, and then with what's left, you kind of inhale it into your nostrils. So you take the water, and then inhale it into your nostrils like that. Take the water in your right hand, bring it to your mouth, take most of it into your mouth, sniff the rest into your nose, and then you switch hands and you expel it with your left hand. And if you're fasting, don't sniff very forcefully, because you don't want to risk water coming into your throat. But again, it's not going to, if you're not doing it intentionally, that's not going to break your fast. But try to do it forcefully, unless you're fasting. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. If you're congested, you're congested, what can you do? But that's the manner. Take the water into your mouth, inhale it into your nose, expel it out of your mouth and your nose. Use your left hand to expel the water from your nose. Any questions? Okay, so these are the 4 steps so far. Intention, Bismillah, wash the hands, wash the mouth and nose. Now these steps are from the different hadith. There are several hadith that talk about how the Prophet ﷺ made wudu. There's also an ayah in the Quran in Surah Ma'idah that talk about how to make wudu. But this list that we'll see over here is from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And we'll see why that difference is important in a little bit. The next step is washing the face. What qualifies as the face? Everything from the beginning of the hairline, down to the cheeks and the chin, up to the start of the ears, including, for the men, what is between the beard and the ear, so right over here. So everything from here on, down to the cheeks and the chin. So we wash the face 3 times. as the Prophet ﷺ did. Again, the steps so far: intention, Bismillah, wash the hands, wash the nose and the mouth 3 times, wash the face. For the men, tending to the beard. Yes,
Quick question. Sorry.
That's fine.
I keep forgetting. I want to ask. Somebody said, not somebody, you said, everybody said you do it 3 times.
Yes.
Supposing in 3 times, somebody thinks the mouth is not clean, can they do it a few more times? I was told that either you do it once or 3 times.
Okay, so the question is, if you don't feel that your mouth is clean after 3 times, can you do it more times? I don't know.
Yeah. See,
We'll talk about the number of times a little bit, but I haven't read, and I'm not saying I'm not saying it does. I just don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, it says the food is say.
Food is stuck in your mouth. Yeah.
It's not coming out.
Yeah. I hesitate to say this, but I'll say it anyway. If we're in my case, what I would do is I'd perform the rest of the wudu, and then because I had fulfilled the requirements of the wudu, and then I'd go
Afterwards.
ahead and go do that afterwards if I feel that there is still, food, for example, in my mouth. Especially if you don't want to ingest food while you're praying, for example. Tending to the beard. So the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ was he used to run his wet fingers through his beard. So let me put my phone down for a second. So you wash your face, and then he'd run his wet fingers through his beard. How about soaking the beard? So there is a hadith that supports actually soaking your beard with water. Most scholars say, so there's a difference of opinion, most scholars say it is not required. You don't have to it's not like you're taking a neck up shower. You don't need to do that. It is not required. It's desirable if you can, but it's not required. It doesn't make your wudu incomplete if you only do run your fingers through it, because that is also a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So what we have so far: intention, say Bismillah, wash the hands 3 times, wash the mouth and nose, right hand to take the water in, left hand to expel, wash the face 3 times, run the fingers through the beard for the men. Now we come to washing the arms. So washing the arms should be done from the fingertips all the way past the elbow, including part of the upper arm. And there are several evidences for that. So you don't just stop right here, but it's basically all the way up to here. I hope you can see this on the video. Right? So you wash all the way up to the upper arm. And there's no difference in all of this for men or women. Right? This is the same, unless specified. There's no difference in how to perform wudu for men or women. So we've got the right hand, we've got left hand. Obviously, you need your right hand to wash your left and your arm, and your left hand to wash the right arm. Intention, saying Bismillah, wash the hands, wash the mouth and nose, wash the face, run the fingers to the beard, wash the arms. Then, wiping the head and ears. There are several interpretations. The correct interpretation is to wipe the entire head. It's not just like throw a couple of drops on your hair. You wipe the entire head. So you've got your water, you've got wet hands, and you go and you wipe your head. Okay, from back to front, or front to back, and then back to the front. So the hadith goes, the Prophet ﷺ wiped his head with 2 hands, moving them forwards and backwards, beginning with the front of the head. So it really should be backwards and forwards, I guess. Beginning with the front of the head and wiping with them up to his nape, so up to this part right here. And then he returned them back to the place from where he began. Now I'm just using one hand because I've got my phone here, but this was done with both hands. You don't need to take fresh water for the ears. It is permissible. It is also permissible to use water remaining from washing the arms. If you don't have enough water, you can't say, okay, my hands are wet, I'm just going to do it. That's fine. It's okay to use the water remaining from washing the arms. How about the ears? The Prophet ﷺ wiped his head and then entered his 2 forefingers into his ears and wiped the backs of his ears with his thumbs. So you're doing this, and then put your 2 fingers into your ears and then wipe the backs of your ears with your thumbs, like that. Any questions on that?
That's after you go back up front and then?
Yes. Yeah, so after you go back in front, so it would be, you've got your wet hands this way, then you do this, and you wash your ears.
So you're putting 2 fingers?
One finger
No,
in each ear.
Okay.
One finger, the forefinger in each
Two
ear.
fingers is meaning
Okay.
Yeah,
one
2
in
fingers.
each.
I think this means 2
One in
fingers
each, yeah.
total, because
Okay.
yeah, 2 forefingers, and then wipe the backs of your ears. Oh, when I put it into my pocket, the connection went away. All right, don't put it in your pocket. It is permissible for a man wearing a turban to wipe over the turban because it's cumbersome to remove a turban. Not so for a man wearing a simple cap, baseball cap, kufi, namaz ki topi. You have to take it off and then do it over your hair. For a woman, if she's wearing a hijab, it's permissible to wipe over the hijab. So this is one of those differences I was talking about on making differences in wudu for men and women. This may be the only one that I know of. Again, intention, saying Bismillah, washing the hands, washing the mouth and nose, washing the face, running fingers through the beard, washing the arms, wiping the head and ears. And then we're almost down to the last step, washing the feet and the ankles. Washing the feet and the ankles, like so many other things, washing it 3 times from the foot past the ankle to the shin. So right up to here. You can't see it on the video, but 3 times from the feet past the ankles to the shin. Use your pinky, your little finger, to wash between the toes to get the area in between your toes wet. And this is obviously when you're barefoot. Simply wiping bare feet just by doing something like this on your bare feet is not from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. You have to do the entire foot and go all the way up to the ankles with the pinky in between the toes. Intention, Bismillah, hands, mouth and nose, face, beard, arms, head and ears, and the feet. And that completes the individual steps of making wudu. But there are questions that come in our daily lives on what about this, what about that? So let's look at those. Number 1 is the miswak, the siwak. If you use it, it's very highly recommended. In fact, it was so highly recommended by the Prophet ﷺ, he was afraid that it would cause hardship to us if he would have ordered us to use it after every wudu. But if you can, and you can do it after wudu, the rewards are immense. Rubbing water versus pouring water. The authentic sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is when he said, rub this way. He also rubbed over his forearms and rubbed over his toes with his little finger. So doesn't mean that doesn't mean that the only thing that you can do is take a little bit of water and drip it over your arms. You may rub as well. And the authentic sunnah is that the Prophet ﷺ said, rub this way. Now, what about the order in which to do things, right? There is a certain order. Wudu is mentioned in the Quran. In Surah Ma'idah, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha qumtum ila salati faghsilu wujuhakum wa aydiyakum ila al-marafiq wamsahu bi ru'usikum wa arjulakum ila al-ka'bayn. O you who believe, when you stand up for salah, wash your face, and this is the order in the ayah. Wash your face, your forearms, your head, and your feet. And this is a really good example of how we say, how we implement what we say, that our obedience to Allah is from 2 sources, the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. If we follow this to the letter, we would miss obligatory parts of the wudu. We would miss saying Bismillah. We would miss washing the hands. We would miss washing our mouths. The rest of this was filled in by the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So there's an order in this ayah, and that order must be followed. But there are other parts that are not in this ayah, which are the mouth and washing the mouth, etc. Those can be moved around. In fact, there are authentic hadith about when the Prophet ﷺ actually did move them around, but when you look at those hadith, let me go back one slide. When you look at the hadith, these things were still in the same order. So he may have inserted a couple of things, moved them from here to here or to here, but the rest of these things were still in the same order. Order of the side that you work with. Always start with your right side first and then your left side. So if whatever you have two of, your arms, right side first and then the left arm. Right foot first and then the left foot. When you dress and when you make wudu, start with the right. Economizing water. Prophet ﷺ used to make wudu with 1 month of water and make ghusl with a sa or up to 5 months. A sa is 5 months. A mud is basically what you can fit in 2 cupped handfuls. So it's not a lot of water. And not a lot of water is required. And this comes back to the other recommendation to not be wasteful of our resources in general. We don't need to waste a lot of water when we're making wudu. Oh, missed one, didn't I? I have never seen any evidence personally, or even any claim from people that if you have tight sleeves, that you can wipe over your sleeves. I have heard of some people saying, I think we can do it. I'm just saying, in the research that I have done personally, I have never seen a claim for that. I've never seen anything that justifies that. After you make wudu, is a good opportunity to make a couple of du'as that are very, very beneficial. The first one, the hadith goes, none of you makes wudu and completes the wudu, and then after the wudu says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. And then another hadith has the following addition, Allahumma ij'alni min at-tawwabin wa ij'alni min al-mutatahhirin. If you say these things right after making wudu, all the 8 gates of paradise are opened for that person, so that he or she may enter by whichever one he pleases. So this is the dua. It's mentioned in several different places. This is the transliteration of the dua and the translation. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. I bear witness, no one has the right to be worshipped except Allah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu, and that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a slave and messenger. Allahumma ij'alni min at-tawwabin, O Allah, make me of the one who constantly repents to you. Waj'alni min al-mutatahhirin, and one of those who purify themselves. So that's a short dua that you can say after making wudu. Then there's another thing that you can say after that. Whoever makes wudu and then says upon finishing the wudu, Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. That is written in a parchment and sealed, and it's not open till Judgment Day. I interpret that as, that you will not lose that benefit of having said that. What the benefit is, I don't know. But this is an authentic hadith. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. I declare, my Allah, you are free from all defects, and all praise belong to you, and I bear witness, Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, there's no one worthy of worship except you. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. I seek forgiveness from you and I turn to you. Now we're talking about number of times. It is clear in the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, sometimes he washed his body, each part of the body that he washed with wudu. Sometimes he washed it once, sometimes he washed it twice, sometimes he washed it 3 times. The minimum requirement is once. There are several narrations where he washed them 3 times. So the scholars say the minimum requirement is once. You may do it once. You may also do it twice or 3 times, because neither of those are contradictory to the sunnah. In fact, there are established sunnah on doing it twice and 3 times. And in general, 3 times is preferred, because there are hadith that talk about 3 times, and 3 is an odd number and 2 is even, and there's a general preference for the odd over the even. But if you see someone, or if you mistakenly do wudu, or you see someone doing wudu only once, you don't need to say, hey, your wudu is incomplete. There's also a difference in opinion on whether you have to make wudu for every single prayer, or you can keep one wudu for as long as you can and pray. Some scholars used to pray some companions used to pray the entire day on a single wudu. The general consensus is a new wudu for each prayer is preferable, but it is acceptable to have a single wudu. In general, if my opinion is, in general, if you can do it, why not? You know, get the extra reward, because you get the reward for doing the wudu, you get the reward for saying the dua after it. Why not take advantage of that? So this is something that is very, very important to me. What if I did wudu? I'm not sure if I broke my wudu or not. And we'll talk about what breaks the wudu, but I'm not sure if I broke my wudu. I think I did, I'm not sure. If I'm not sure, then I go with what I'm sure about. I'm sure I did the wudu. I know I did the wudu. I went with the intention of doing wudu. I remember doing the wudu, but I'm not sure if I broke it. In that case, I can pray. I still have my wudu. Whether or not in reality it happened or not, doesn't matter. I don't remember. I'm not sure about breaking my wudu, but I'm sure about making wudu, so I go with what I am sure about. So I have wudu. The converse is also true. I know I meant to do wudu. I know I broke my wudu, and then I said, oh, I need to do wudu. I can't remember if I actually did wudu or not. I can't remember if I actually, if I did it or not. In that case, I know I broke my wudu, I don't have wudu. I have to go and do wudu again. In each case, the person relies on that upon which he is certain, and throws away what you don't have certainty about. Throws the doubt away. Any questions on that? And this is specifically for, if you're in Jama'ah, in a masjid, if one of you feels like maybe I lost my wudu, I'm not sure, flatulence, but if you're not sure, and it's okay to stay there unless you have evidence in terms of a sound or a smell. There is a hadith about camel meat. If you eat camel meat, then you have to do wudu. And the hadith talks about sheep meat, but I'm assuming it means other meat as well is okay. But camel meat specifically, you have to make wudu after that. If you had wudu, you've lost your wudu. There actually are some claims to the contrary, but it is okay to wipe yourself, use a towel. I didn't know that until I was preparing these slides, that there are people who claim that, there is a time once when the Prophet ﷺ said, no thanks, to someone offered him a towel after wudu, or a cloth. He said, no, I'm good. So, but that doesn't imply that it is forbidden to wipe yourself after wudu, to wipe yourself dry. Wiping over socks. We could go into a lot of detail about this, but I'll try to condense it into a few things. The Prophet ﷺ actually preferred wiping over his socks if he had put those socks on during the state of having wudu. And there are, there's a couple of reasons for that, which we probably won't have time to get into. For one whose feet are bare, so I'm here, I'm trying to do wudu, I'm barefoot. If my feet are bare, it is better for me to wash my feet because my feet are already bare. What I should not do is put socks on just because I don't want to wash my feet and now I can wipe over my socks. That's not acceptable. If my feet are bare when I go there to do wudu, I wash my feet. If I have socks on, that's okay, I can wipe over the socks. What if I have wudu and then I did wudu on my socks and then I remove my socks later? There is a difference of opinion on whether removing the socks breaks the wudu or not after you have wiped on your socks. So there are three different opinions. The strongest opinion, favored by Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, is it's okay to remove your socks. You haven't lost your wudu unless there is something else that would have caused you to break your wudu. So yes, there is a difference in opinion on this. So we've covered the requirement, excellence, manner, some other aspects, and real quickly we'll cover about what breaks your wudu. Anything emitted from the private parts, front or back, and that really does mean absolutely anything. Deep sleep. If you've fallen asleep, it's a deep sleep, then you've lost your wudu. If you are sitting, for example, in a way that prevents flatulence, then the wudu is not broken. And you may continue after that. Loss of your faculties for any reason, intoxication, insanity, fainting, you know, if you've lost your consciousness, then you have broken your wudu. For a man, touching one's penis when aroused, specifically when aroused. For a woman, for a man, touching a woman, even with desire by itself, does not break wudu. So, if I kiss my wife, that doesn't break my wudu. If it leads to other things that could break wudu, then that could break wudu. But, you know, some people say, oh, I can't touch my wife now, otherwise I'll break my wudu. That is not, according to Al-Bukhari and Al-Muslim, that is not true. So what we have covered so far is the requirement, the excellence, and like so many things, we have a requirement for doing something that Allah tells us we have to do, and then Allah gives us a reward on top of that. Allah tells us a summary of how to do it in the Quran, and then in the example of His Prophet ﷺ, He shows us the complete way of how to perform, and on top of that, He gives us ways to, you know, He gives us different options based on our, you know, things that might be difficult or things that might be inconvenient. For example, if we have a turban or a hijab, things like that. We've spoken about other aspects, things that we can say afterwards to increase our the reward that we get, and how to deal with practical issues like when we're traveling, or if I've got my shoes on and it's like I don't want to get water all over the floor, or I may not be mobile enough to stick my foot into the sink and the corporate bathroom. We have different ways of doing certain things, certain parts of wudu, and then we've covered what actually breaks our wudu. A quick recap of the actual steps involved is, again, intention. We start off with the intention because without that it's not wudu. We say Bismillaah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wash the hands 3 times. Wash the mouth and the nose. Take it in from our right hand. Inhale it into the nose. Switch hands and exhale it. Expel it with the left hand, and do that 3 times. Wash the face. Run our fingers through the beard for the men. And then wash the arms all the way up to the upper arm. Wash behind the head. Wash the head. Wipe over the head. Fingers in the ears. Wash the feet all the way past the ankles, up to the shin. Start off with the right, and then do the left. And that basically, you know, that's basically all there is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 steps. Yes, question.
Do you know what are the steps for like if there's no water?
Yes. So if you don't have water, then you can do tayammum. I'm pretty sure I know the answer to it, but I'm not going to say it right now because when preparing for this, I did not look it up. I meant to look it up, but I did not look it up, and I did not put the slides on there. But I will, inshallah, put that in as I'll insert some slides in the video or something, or I'll put it in an email. But I will, inshallah, cover that.
I just think like with all the steps here, I think there's only 4 or 5, so it'd be easy to
Yes.
highlight the ones that.
Right, I do know that you're not required. For example, obviously you're not required to wash the inside of your mouth, or with sand if you don't have water.
The nose, I think, is not.
Yeah. So there's definitely a subset of these things that are required when you are doing tayammum. But I'm a little confused as well about what qualifies as a dirt. I've seen some people use dirt, clean dirt. I've seen some people say,
Dust,
okay, you think dust, or so I've seen a variety of things. I'm not really sure about if some of those things that I've seen are actually valid.
Also, when one is sick, I mean, if the tayammum is.
Okay, yeah. So when one is sick, for those who can't hear on the video.
That also should be touched upon.
Yeah. So there are, obviously there are situations when one is sick, as well. So I pray to Allah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts this from us and help us keep our intentions and our actions compliant. And I'd like to thank everyone for showing up. Jazakallah khair. Just also to show that this book had a lot of references.